it's a call for change. It's a reminder that you can be 30 years old, 130 years old, 530 years old. You got to run as fast as everybody else in the marketplace, or else you get run over.
John, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Great.
Yeah.
It's been a huge week for you. You've announced some pretty profound changes to GE. After spinoffs and sales, the new GE is going to be about a third smaller in terms of revenue.
Right.
And about 40 to 50% smaller in terms of headcount. On top of that, huge changes to how you want the culture to operate and where decision-making happens. So I want to get into all of that, but I would love to start with how you come up with something like this, because some of these ideas are things you might expect an outsider to say, here's how the new GE is going to look.
Yeah.
You've been at GE for 30 years.
Yeah, 31.
Have these been things that you've been thinking about for a long time, or is this stuff that has come to you as you've had to evaluate the business as a CEO?
Dan, I'd say most of it, life is cumulative and formative, and it's an amalgamation of a lot of experiences. But the last 10 years of my time in GE really formed a lot of these thoughts. I was overseas most of the last 20 years. I saw what it was like to be in the perimeter. So this notion of a distributed organization where people can make decisions on the perimeter, close to customers, I was seeing that all the time. The need to delegate authority to people. I moved to Tokyo and ran GE Capital in Asia. My boss gave me unbelievable delegation, and he basically was like, this is the only way this works. Good people on the ground with, autonomy. So those thoughts, I'd say, are 10 years old or more. And then over the last few assignments I had, I ran our business development and strategy and was watching sort of how we allocated money in the company, where we could invest and grow. And I got this notion that sometimes, businesses have capital needs that are different than the conglomerate's needs, if you will, and that maybe some of the businesses could be better placed outside. And then I ran the healthcare business for 3 years before this job. And frequently, we were doing well, and the industry's in good shape, our franchise is good, but I had a constant stream of ideas that would be on my desk, and I'd say, that's a good idea, I can't really pursue that right now.
You can't pursue it because if you took
this
it to corporate,
acquisition,
they would
this,
say...
Or there were some conflicts maybe between whatever the impact and outcome of that decision might be, earnings profile or whatever. And so the businesses can compete for capital, and sometimes that's healthy and sometimes that's narrowing. So I had a lot of those ideas, and I say to people all the time, fundamentally, this is not because we hit a rough patch in the last 12 months. These are fundamental principles about how to organize a company and really how to have something grow.
Even if GE had been on the upswing and had been...
If nothing had happened, I would be doing the exact same thing. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe not with as much publicity, but I'd be doing the exact same thing, because at the end of the day, it's about unleashing the business so it can grow faster. Well, that was the core backdrop of the process. Was we have these good assets. What's holding them back? Why are we not getting the maximum result from that? And part of it to me was heaviness of the center, if you will. Let's peel that away. Some of the autonomy and decision making, let's push that out there. Freedom to grow. And so I look at this thing, a lot of people have reported this as, hey, GE shrinking, or GE tries to find salvation in shrinking. And that's the complete opposite of what we're actually doing and intend to do. I just thought these businesses that are leaving the traditional GE framework can grow much faster. So as a shareholder, and I'm for me, at least on a relative basis, a big shareholder, I want to get these pieces of the company. Our transportation business, we merged with a public company. Our shareholders are going to own 50% of that. That has an incredible future as a standalone transportation business. Inside GE, it was like fifth in line to get to the dinner table. If we had something left over, we'd invest in that business. So I'm highly confident this is sort of a liberation and growth moment for the company. And that's really the message.
Well, would you talk about what that liberation looks like? So you now have aerospace, renewables, power as the core of GE. Yeah. What kind of decisions do you expect for those managers to make that would previously have been handled by corporate?
The core things that we will do at corporate are governance. Obviously, it's a public company. We have basic governance issues. Capital allocation and strategy at a broad GE level. and talent, basically, making sure we're moving talent around, developing talent. Everything else is in the businesses. So it's extreme accountability. We're moving a lot of our shared services and things into the businesses. Anything that had been done on a common basis before is going to be either moved into the business or market tested. If they want to share research with somebody, they can. If they want to do it on their own, they can. So I'd say it's literally everything. But the things I expect the most are really clear strategies, market-backed strategies, understand your space, understand the innovation, really understand customer problems. At the end of the day, that's what any business really exists for and has value creation is, can I solve an issue? Can I help a customer? Can I get an outcome? So I want deep understanding of that and a strategy that delivers that. And then obviously the financials and things flow from that. The other thing I push hard on the teams running the businesses, I'm a maniac about the people. You must have great teams. You must develop your teams. When I talk to people about, we used to do reviews of teams, and it would be a binder like 100 pages, big, thick binder. When I got to the healthcare business the first time through, I said, I don't want the binder. I want one page of basically your direct reports, and just let's go through succession planning, and what did you do in the last 12 months to make your organization better, and what are you doing in the next 12 months to make it better? And that can be a mix of recruiting people, promoting people, taking chances on somebody. I developed this person so that they're ready 4, 5, 6 years from now. So I'm heavy on them for strategy, heavy on them for execution, and heavy on them for people.
Have there been any people who have been particularly influential to you as you've been thinking about changing GE in particular? Who have you relied on? What have you done to say, hey, this is an example of the company that I want to become, or here are pockets of what's worked, let's emulate that?
And when I was in the strategy and M&A job, I looked at a lot of companies. That's what you do in that job. What are other people doing? How are they organized? How are they set up? And so I'd say looked at a lot of industrial companies, notable name, Danaher, Honeywell. There are a lot of companies that I'd watch and say, they're running the company in a different manner than we are, and I kind of understand why. So I was attracted, if you talk about a system or a business model, kind of orientation, small corporate, distributed. Those were the kind of companies that I looked at and said, that's interesting. And there's others, and then I'd say, culturally and customer-wise, the companies I've looked at a lot are Apple and Amazon.
Really? In what ways?
Just that the essence is, what does the customer want? What's the customer experience? We have to be insane for customers, and everything else will fill in behind, but we're nonstop listening to customers, thinking about customers. Some would say, giving them things they didn't know they wanted, but I think the core of it really was listening to customers and saying, okay, if I could do this or this or this, and that's the essence of business, I think.
But those are both B2C companies. In the B2B world, it's the same thing?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I'm a liberal arts kind of background, Jesuit college, and so I'm not strong engineering and all those things. But one of the things, as I got into the business, we've been a hardcore engineering and product-centric company, and that's essential. We have to have the best technology. We compete on technology in many ways, but that's not sufficient. And so for decades, really, we were, let's just make another new thing that's better than the last thing, and then we'll go into the market. And I got into healthcare, and I talked to so many customers in the first 90 days, and I didn't hear any of them say, hey, the technology you used to wind the magnet to spin on the MRI, they were always talking about, I'm really trying to figure out if this person has cancer or not. Or I'm really trying to get 20 patients through a day instead of 8, and I really can't have this thing break at 11 o'clock in the morning when everybody took the day. They were always talking about their world, their experience. I was in India when I first got exposed to that business. They were talking about, I don't have technicians, my patients don't have any money, I need a different kind of product and model and business. And so I was listening to all that stuff and saying, the technology is like a base level of engagement. And you're obviously not in the business if you don't have that. But the customer outcome in a business-to-business sense, it's just as intimate, and same elements of loyalty and, confidence and I can trust you and I like you as a company and I respect. Those things are there in B2B, 100%. One thing I will say about the GE culture, it's a deep, cohesive pride in the company. There's not a lot of warring factions inside. People love the company. People are proud of the company. That motivates us. Obviously, this has been a tough year, and the Dow Jones and all those things. And I sent a note to the people the day after our teams after the Dow Jones news, and I was like, "Hey, that's part of our history. Got it. It's not going to define us today. It's not going to define us in the future. How we work together, how we solve customer needs. That's going to be truly define us. And let's kick ass. Let's show some people that maybe this wasn't the right assessment of the company." I really love the culture of the company.
Are people able to keep looking forward that much? In a company with so much history, such a rich history where they do identify so much with what GE has always been, are you able to keep them thinking about what's coming down the road?
Yeah, I think, in some ways, if there's a silver lining to the last 12 months, I don't have a lot of people coming up to me and saying, "Hey, listen, I want to just stay exactly the way we were," or whatever manifestation of that. It's a call for change. It's a reminder that you can be 30 years old, 130 years old, 530 years old. You got to run as fast as everybody else in the marketplace or else you get run over. So that, I think, became more tangible to people. And so I see people running fast right now, which is good.